Hey guys, welcome back to RHR Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Guys, I have such a good show for you today. We are talking, say it with me, betrayal. Oh, can I just tell you? I know I say this a lot of chapters, but I'm telling you, this was one of the best chapters in the entire book. And I have been so excited to record on this one. Today I'm covering chapter 40, Megan, as ever. Oh, it's juicy. It's juicy. It's juicy. My favorite chapter of this book so far has been the one where it's such a sad topic, but when they go into Her Majesty the late Queen's funeral and the antics that those two pulled, that was excellent. When they go into behind the scenes of Megan's bull stuff, excellent. This one is one of the best chapters in the book, Megan as ever, because you're going to see how little of a plan she has behind the scenes. And it's so interesting. And it's interesting to hear Tom Bower's take on it. And instead of Megan trying to fix anything or learn from it or get better, she's more focused on the appearance, just as we always call out. So we're going to get into it. One of the best quotes of the whole book I found in this chapter. I underlined it. I was texting my friends like, oh my gosh, can you believe this? This perfectly sums her up. So anyway, I'm excited. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jen. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the thumbs up, and leave me comments, as all of those helps YouTube to recommend my videos. I sincerely appreciate that. And I sincerely appreciate all of you. Thank you to everybody who hits the hype button. And can I say, I've had a huge number of new subscribers recently. So a sincere thank you to all of you who've been with me for a long time. And a sincere thank you to everybody who's hit the subscribe button. I'm pushing to the 200,000 mark. And because of each and every one of you, it's getting closer and closer. So thank you. All right, let's get into betrayal. All right. I'm so excited about this chapter. It's good. Oh, Cantankerous, what are you doing? Cantankerous, what's happening here? Cantankerous has a message for Netflix. Okay. If you're new here, this is Cantankerous. He's my Cantankerous sidekick. And yeah, he has a message for Netflix, and I can't really say that I blame him. Oh, wait a second. That's not the end of his messages. Cantankerous. What else? What else? Cantankerous. He's right though. Ted is the Ted. I always can't say his name right. It doesn't matter. The Netflix guy. Yep, agree. There you go. So we're gonna have some thoughts on that and so much more. Thank you, Cantankerous. You're welcome. All right. How about you just sit over here and keep being Cantankerous? Thank you very much. I like that he just kind of cantankerously appears in the corner of the screen there. All right. Can't take him anywhere. Let's talk Megan as ever. So again, this is chapter 40, page 356. If you're trying to read along with me, I'd like to give you a chapter overview, and then I'm going to get into some of the the juicy stuff, because it is juicy. If you read no other, well, I say that there's only like, the whole book is excellent. I have not hit a slow chapter yet, but there are a couple chapters that are outstanding, and this is one of them for me. So again, if you just read a couple chapters, make this one of the chapters that you read. And I am hearing people are able to get the book now on, what is it? Some people are saying they got it on Kindle. That's great. Some people are saying they found it on Spotify. I have no idea how Spotify works, so if you can find it, fantastic. And some people are saying they're getting it from their library. So check with their library if that's another way to get it. So get this book. It's excellent. All right, let's talk this chapter. So Bower is, okay, so the end of last chapter, last chapter was Vancouver. So this one picks up where Megan had to scramble home. And I remember at the time, I think a lot of us were wondering, like, did Harry and Megan get into a fight? Because they actually, if you remember, they looked like they were having some tense words at one of the outings or something in Vancouver. It looked like she had been yelling at Harry. And then when they saw this, the cameras, it was like, smile. So people were wondering if she raced home because the two of them had argued. But then I thought, that's so not like Megan. If anything, Harry would have raced home and she'd stay and be the center of the show, right? But no, it sounds like everything was falling apart behind the scenes. So let's talk about it. So this picks up leaving Vancouver, headed home. And the title itself for this chapter is brilliant in that it's sarcastic, Megan as ever, implying that despite all the rebranding, victim narratives, big promises, she remains exactly the same person she's always been, entitled, creatively hollow, whatever you want to use, shallow, whatever. All those, that's what she remains as ever. So this chapter focuses heavily on her attempt to become a lifestyle / cooking guru. I'm making this face because if you watch the show, you understand why that's ridiculous. The long delayed Netflix show With Love, Megan, portraying it as the ultimate example of style over substance, if you can even call it that, because there really wasn't style there, but there was definitely no substance. So Bauer's describing the show as painfully unoriginal, basic recipes, generic lifestyle advice, heavily styled segments that felt like pale imitation of existing shows, like borrowed heavily from people like your Martha Stewarts, your Gwyneths, people like that. Pamela Anderson is brought up, things like that. There are no unique voice or fresh perspectives. It was mostly Megan repeating well-worn celebrity lifestyle tropes while trying to insert her royal exile story into it all. Remember, you keep calling me Markle. It's Sussex now. No, it's not. All right. When this show finally aired, the critics and viewers, of course, slammed it as bland, boring, and try hard. The negative reviews, public backlash. There were so many complaints, including recipes were way too basic. If you missed it, I had a wonderful chef on, Chef Matt. He's fantastic. He talks through the recipes and why. And he's such a nice guy, but he tried to do his best to improve it, but I don't think there's any saving those things. But anyway, go back and find my review. I tried to make the horrible show fun, so you can find that. But the common complaints were just the presentation felt too forced, too inauthentic. Again, common complaints we get with Megan. And the whole thing came across as a vanity project. Viewership numbers were completely underwhelming. Tom Bauer, I'm pointing down at the book. That's why I keep looking down and pointing down, because I'm like, in the book here. He underlines that fact that it was completely underwhelming. It quickly faded from what didn't even make the top 10 here, but I think it was Hungary in the UK. It wasn't the top 10 for just a very short time. And it was completely back off. And that was that. The Megan as ever verdict. So Bauer argues that no matter how many times Megan rebrands, a la the TIG, lifestyle guru, activist, whatever she rebrands as, she always ends up in the same place, promising big things, no substance behind them. The chapter ties back to her royal days, the same pattern of entitlement, lack of follow through, reliance on image over any actual skills or creative abilities. The hypocrisies that I always like to talk about from this chapter seem to be preaching authenticity and living your truth. And yet her lifestyle show was widely criticized as exact opposite, inauthentic, scripted, lacking any real personal voice or originality. So she positions herself as this self-made entrepreneur and creative visionary, but the show revealed she had almost no original ideas or culinary expertise whatsoever. So there's that. All right, let's talk about the chapter itself, because it really was, I can't say it enough. It was really good. It was one of the longer chapters and I just enjoyed every page of it. I wish it had been double in length. I could have read so much more because I really got into this one. And on pages I highlight things to talk about. This chapter, I just kept going, oh my God, this is so good. I'm going to start a little bit out of order because there is a line that is so powerful in this book. This is probably, I would say so far, one of my all-time favorite lines that Tom Bauer wrote, and it's in this chapter. And I want you to think about it when we're talking about Meghan Markle, because I always try to articulate this feeling, but I've never done it as well as Tom Bauer does in this chapter. You ready? Now he's talking about, of course, how she comes off on the show. So here you go. I always say she's an alien that's pretending to be a person and getting it a little bit wrong. So we always get this uncomfortable feeling from her. That's where, this is what I'm trying to explain. He says, quote, her super controlled narrative crushed any natural warmth. It's so simple, but it's so spot on. Her super controlled narrative crushed any natural warmth. That's it. That's the vibe we're all getting constantly. In real time, they're in Australia and we're getting these crazy pictures and we're all saying, oh, it just feels icky. And she's like making these faces and doing these things and it feels so contrived and controlled. And that's what it is. Her super controlled narrative crushed any natural warmth. That's what it was on the show. That's what, I mean, in everything. I don't know that she has any natural warmth. I'm not even trying to say that. I'm just saying that's what it is. She's so hyper focused on control and controlling everything. She can't just relax or just try to be. I just don't know if she has anything to offer, but if she does, it's covered up in the way she presents it in this controlled way. So I thought that was such a great point. He's so brilliant in the way he writes this stuff. All right, let's go back to the beginning of the chapter, and I'm just going to hit some of the highlights of this thing because there's a lot to talk about. Okay, so 2 weeks before the Netflix series had even started, Meghan realized that she was in big trouble, it sounds like. Again, we'll say allegedly and all according to Tom Bauer because, you know how she is. But he's very well researched, so I tend to believe it. If he says it, I tend to believe it. And we've seen it. She scrambles a lot. It was American Riviera Orchard and then As Ever, and that happened last second, right? Because so she had done that 50 yards to friends and she was still calling it American Riviera Orchard. But Netflix, here was it. It was 2 weeks before the Netflix show started. Meghan understood the damage. She ignored a warning about the failed application and registering for the patent. So her lawyers advised her that she should rename. So that's how she switched to from the American Riviera Orchard to As Ever. She described that experience as a, quote, learning curve. You didn't learn anything. This is a pattern that happens throughout the book as he talks about how they don't follow through. They're very wishy-washy. They flip-flop constantly. So that's a theme that comes up a lot. But it turns out that the application for As Ever trademark had been made in October 2022, but was rejected because of a Chinese clothes company had registered the same name. So the revised application was approved in 2024. Because remember, she went back and said something like that. I've been dreaming this up since 2022. Yeah, but you didn't do any homework then either. You can say anything, but until you show that you've got follow through, I could say I founded Amazon. That was my idea. I came up with it. Do you have any proof? No, I just came up with it. Did you file any paperwork? No. Nope, but it's mine. That's not how it works. Okay, so then this part of the book, we're hit with a couple of quick, like, whoa. One of the things Tom Bauer says is, remember, she cranked out that video real fast, seemingly in her backyard. And it was to kind of CYA. Do you know what that means? Cover your rear. And it was, this whole time I meant to name it As Ever, not American Riviera Orchard. It's like, well, then why did you name it American Riviera Orchard? But the quick thing that it's just a throwaway line, but it was good. Tom Bauer points out once again, quote, Lilibet featured rather than Archie. Something we always talk about. That's so weird. People viewed that little video, it sounds like 26 million times, which is kind of hilarious because they watched that and they were cringing so hard. Like, why isn't she making any sense? And why is she doing this in her backyard? And why is she making this weird announcement and changing things at the last minute? And yet she had not views like that. It sounds like on the project itself. I think that's really funny. Anyway. But then again, another quick hit from Tom Bauer is, interesting how Meghan likes to borrow philosophy. I have videos on this where she borrows quotes and philosophies that are already well known and she just makes them her own. Yeah. So he points out that she offers a dose of a borrowed philosophy during this time, and it was a Japanese philosophy. If you break something that's precious and valuable, it's not broken. That fracture makes it more beautiful. The break makes it more beautiful. So he was like, she made it clunky, but that's already an idea, a Japanese philosophy. So Interesting that she's preaching creativity in this, and she didn't get very creative by borrowing other people's stuff. Sounds like that happens quite a bit, though. In fact, the next paragraph talks about how she coincidentally happened to use a very similar design to that Spanish town, where her logo was identical to the town's coat of arms. Of course, that coat of arms, it was adopted in 1370, but that's a coincidence. It's not. Nothing with her it ever is. But again, a great quote on this page, I'm on page 357 from Tom Bauer, says, quote, Meghan has been famous for surfing the internet for ideas. That's a nice way of putting it. All right, continuing on. So she promised to sell merchandise featured in her show. That was the thing. That was the hook. But none of the products were available in any quantity. It was a disaster behind the scenes, it sounds like. It was a blank show. It was a Netflix show behind the scenes. Her trajectory was completely uncertain. It sounds like to me she had just been saying whatever to Netflix and everybody. That seems to be a theme with those two. They just say whatever, and then it's like, oh, they have to scramble to make the words and actions just never match. That's what I always talk about. So a lot of scrambling going on behind the scenes. So again, the use of Lilibet, I don't usually say that name, the use of Lily. They use Lily in a video near a bubbling pot in her own kitchen that supposedly contains the homemade spread. I don't believe it either. But it turns out, quote, it was manufactured 2,000 miles away in Illinois, because nothing she says, again, is ever true. It's never true. She can't be truthful about anything. That's why I don't understand how her fans can legitimately, if she has any, how they can back her. How do you hear somebody that constantly lies on easily verifiable things? How do you continue to support somebody like that? I can't make any sense out of that. I don't know. I really don't know. So it sounds like what happened was she went to Netflix and was like, yeah, I messed up. I don't think she'd ever say I messed up. I think she said, I don't have this merch to sell like I said I would. So Meghan, quote, pleaded with Netflix executives to bail her out. So this Josh guy, who is Netflix's vice president of consumer products, agreed to help, but failed to make a statement himself. So he didn't say anything about it. He just said, okay, we'll help you. So Meghan took it upon herself, it sounds like, to speak on Netflix's behalf. That's a really good idea. And that's when she started to say that they would be her partner. Doesn't that make so much more sense now? Because all of a sudden, no, they're not. That doesn't make any sense. They're not your partner. What are you talking about? That's just her. I mean, technically, I guess they did partner in that they agreed to bail her out, but that's not a partnership, But because she made the statement, she was calling them her partner, it sounds like. And she said, quote, they came on, talking about Netflix, came on not only to be a partner in my show, but also in my business. But then remember that she said, yeah, I felt like the partnership was the right move for global expansion. How'd that work out for you? Because when she left Netflix, when she was let go of Netflix by Netflix, she said it's because she wanted to go global. They're already a global company. Make that make sense. You can't. But it's just funny because all the details were ambiguous, and Netflix was like not having any part of it. It sounds like they didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to deal with it. It was just like, what's happening? But it's Meghan's story. They're partners. Okay, great. So in Meghan's version, Netflix appeared to be committed to mass marketing all as ever products. And that's a direct quote because I want to underline Meghan's version. Meghan's version is never the truth, it sounds like. The cracks appeared soon after. Meghan's claim that her products, quote, would be sold through Netflix stores in Texas and Philadelphia, those were denied by Netflix. Netflix also refused to confirm the corporation would be manufacturing as ever products. So again, lying liars who lie. I don't understand. I'm sorry, I'm a broken record right now, but I don't understand how anybody can still be a Meghan fan. How can you follow somebody who lies this much? I don't understand. And listen, I did PR for years. I get it. Companies, they bend the truth. They want to make the best look good. So even when dealing with company stuff, there's a little bit of creative leeway. That's not what this is. This is constant lying. This is making up stuff that's not happening, it sounds like to me. But Netflix also refused to confirm that they would be making as ever products. That's when she had contracted out to Snow Commerce. Now remember, that's the one, if you look up them, we're going to say that their reviews are not very good. They have criticism about customer service and about order fulfillment. And that seems to be a thing with Meghan's products too. Wickless candles, anybody? Okay. So at this point, it sounds like Meghan was really into some trouble behind the scenes from all of this. So she took on this woman. What's her name? Meredith Maines. I'm going to call her Maines from now on because that's what Bauer refers to, and I never remember her name, so it doesn't matter. Meredith Maines. She is where is she? A publicist who helped her get in with this crisis communications firm as well. So together they kind of came up with these plans. Just wait and think about how that as ever has done, and think about that. Sounds like Maines couldn't help her very much. All right, so Mains's idea was to play victim further. So she called it constant scrutiny of Meghan. Again, let's try to deflect from any valid criticisms that are coming at Meghan. Like, what are you talking about? What partnership? Can you give us detailed? Where's this stuff manufactured? Let's just ignore all that and deflect and play victim. So what did they do? They said it was racist. They said it was the Eastwards for trying to figure out her business stuff and to give any kind of criticisms or critiques. Can you imagine? I'm sorry, but I would find that so offensive if I'm anything. If you came at me and said, you know what, Jen, I hate your channel because you're a woman. That's offensive and horrible. Hate my channel because you hate my voice, hate my channel because you hate my personality. That's just stupid to say you hate it because I'm a woman. Don't watch me then. It's fine. Not you guys, but you get what I'm saying? Like, so I just find that so stupid that you have such piss poor product and no planning behind the scenes that you're relying on calling people the Eastwards rather than actually doing some homework and having a good product. It just makes no sense. And you're setting women backwards. You're setting people of color backwards, people with valid complaints about things. No F's given, none. I just find her sickening. So this Maine's person decided, well, let's go with the usuals. Let's go with our People magazines, our Us Weeklies, people. I can't even say publications. These rags that are typically nice to Meghan, let's hit back with them. So they did. And then they went with a couple of others. It sounds like to me under the guise that it would just be fluff pieces. He points out that, who was it? It was even like Fortune magazine, things like that should have been able to dive into what's your business about? Where is it manufactured? Can you answer some business questions? Nah, let's not get bogged down with that. Let's just say, go Meghan. Because otherwise she'll call you the Eastwards. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so yeah, this is when they reached out to this. It's called Unlimited Partners. It's an expert in crisis management and communication. I don't think that worked out so well either because she still might need your services, it sounds like, because it's just been one disaster after another, and that show didn't work out. Anyway, okay, here we go. So the big crux of the problem was not only her lack of planning behind the scenes, it was just the overall that Meghan didn't understand. She didn't understand her identity. She didn't have a clear one. such as, was she Duchess of Sussex? Meghan Markle? Meghan Sussex? Because she even signed a message to Ukrainian politicians, Her Royal Highness. Remember when she said she wasn't going to do that? Yeah, she did that again. She was trying to simultaneously be a member of the royal family and also this swinging anti-royalist California girl. And so people are just scratching their heads like, what is this? What is this? So she posed for People magazine as a champion of home cooking. But again, completely unaware that she was trying to be this easygoing Meghan with love, Meghan. It doesn't make any sense because she's still wearing this couture clothing. She's wearing white in the kitchen, things that real people don't do, private jets, expensive restaurants, nannies, things like that. No idea what or who she is and who she's supposed to be marketing to. It was just a complete disaster. That's when on page 361, we get that best quote. I'm going to say it again because it's so good. Her super controlled narrative crushed any natural warmth. That's exactly it in a nutshell. But she kept getting the criticism once the show rolled out, so many criticisms, that her show was completely shallow and devoid of any depth or any substance. So he talks about that. To deflect that suggestion, she would do everything with deep affirmation when she speaks, which adds to her word salad, which creates more of an inauthentic feeling. Do you get the cycle? Because I do. I see it. That's exactly it. The more shallow she is, the deeper she tries to speak to deflect. Isn't that crazy? Which adds to the inauthentic feeling we're all sensing. Oh, goodness gracious. So the big question again that is on everybody's mind is, who are these tips for? Who is this aimed at? Who did her audience need to be told, quote, the fresh mint tea was best made by using fresh mint? Quote, I guess she told people twice that the tea bag should be steeped in hot water and shared with loved ones at midday or by a fire. Groundbreaking, right? What? I just remember her being so excited over this new idea she had. I believe it was for Archie or pretend Archie's party. What was it? A balloon arch. Raise your hand if you had one growing. Yeah, okay, we all did. What? I think even McDonald's did that when I had birthday parties at McDonald's growing up, and I think they did something like that. I don't know. Silly. All right. Yeah, so it was just a big what? Who is this for? What is this for? What are we doing? And then that, I'm Sussex comes up. So he points out, here she is trying to play victim and say the reason she was Sussex is because it was a meaningful importance of her to have the same last name. She tried to claim that her family with Harry, quote, had never shared a surname. But Bauer points out, as we all did at the time, yes, you do. It's Mountbatten Windsor. Everybody understands this except for you. You lunatic. So, yeah, there's that. Now, during this time, let's see here. Yeah, so right before this though, when she was in Nigeria and she was in Colombia and Harper's Bazaar and Time magazine had done reports on her, she said, and she went with Meghan Markle during that time. So again, I'm trying to make sense out of something that makes no sense. I get it, but just know that she doesn't even understand her own name or timelines whatsoever because she was still being reported on as, by her own reporter she brought with her, Meghan Markle. Okay. She just forgot. You know how you forget your name? What? Doesn't make any sense. Okay. So then the reviews, of course, for the show came in, and I'm not just talking about us that watched it. I want my life back. But just regular people that watched it. I'm talking about from the critics that are writing about it. And I mean, as you remember, they were hilariously panning the show. A lot of people were calling it, quote, an identity crisis. Agree. The Guardian, I didn't remember this. Apparently they called it pointless. That's pretty great. And let's see. Oh, one of my favorites. You ready? Quote. This was from a comment on Rotten Tomatoes. This is something Tom Bauer includes. Here we go. It was, quote, a gormless lifestyle filler, a waste of time, so boring I wanted to go into a coma, superficial and shallow. So boring I want to go into a coma. I don't know. It's really funny to me. Yeah, same. All right. Then he goes into, it's really interesting, and I'm sure just a coincidence. It's not. Nothing's ever a coincidence. That her recipes could actually be traced back to lots of celebrity cooks. That's weird how that happens, right? That they're traced back to celebrity cooks and TV shows even. So again, the viewers were pointing out that there were published food blogs where a lot of this stuff had been found, they believed, in particular Pamela Anderson's blogs. There's a well-known chef, Carla Hall. Did anybody watch Top Chef? I remember Carla on that. Remember? Hooty hoo. If you watch the show, you get that. If you don't, then I can't help you there. But she's a lovely lady. She's a lot of fun. I think she was pro those two at the beginning, but then switched. But she seems like a nice lady. I've seen her. I just liked her personality on Top Chef. I thought she was cute, and she's been on a lot of stuff. She's a Black lady. She's a chef. She's well known, and she has written books, including Cooking with Love. Well, at first, like I say, she was pro Harry and Meghan, but then after this, she came out swinging and said, no, I not only believe that you've heavily borrowed, putting it nicely, from other people, I think you took some of my stuff too. I think you heavily borrowed from some of my stuff too. So I thought that was juicy. Hall points out that she always encouraged her readers to cook with love, live with joy. Sound familiar? And that she has a heritage brand offering recipes to feed self-discovery, exploring who you are, manifesting your best life. And she just feels like that's a lot of stuff that Meghan took from her. So, what else? Oh, New York Post columnist wrote that it was costly vanity, meaning that the lifestyle pitched by Meghan, just again, it's meant to generate envy. I thought that was interesting. And then he says, quote, wisely during this time, Meghan disabled the comments on her Instagram page. Yeah, that sounds about right. Although, in fairness, I think they had been disabled for a while, because when she did that beach sand thing, I think they were disabled. But yeah, fair enough. So to counter the bad reviews, that PR team decided they would bombard her show with praise. So it sounds like they took to the web, just like we knew they would. I've talked about this in videos before. Do not trust IMDb. I've shown you firsthand, if you try to leave, or at the time, I don't know if they're still doing it, if you tried to leave something below an 8, they wouldn't allow it. So just know things like that can be influenced, shall we say. So that was what her PR team did. They got out there, and it sounds like they were trying to put out the good news as much as they possibly can and tell everybody that Meghan's wonderful. It didn't work. So that's kind of what Tom Bauer says too, is like the puffery failed to sink the criticism. Now, this is another great line that I've underlined. I'm on page 364, and it says, this was according to Variety. It says, quote, the series, the magazine says, is made with a great deal of love, in the sense that the greatest love of all is the love that a person has for herself. That's amazing. All I can think of is the Whitney Houston song, "Oh, the greatest love of all." That's really funny. That's perfect. So, and then another great line from Tom Bauer is, it's funny how she is making this show with, quote, while communicating solely through throw pillow adages about joy and hospitality. Isn't he great? He's brilliant. I love it. Let's see. And then Time Magazine said, quote, he's talking about he's talking about Harry and Meghan, quote, the more they, Harry and Meghan, say about themselves, the less real they seem. Agree completely. And then, who was it? New York columnist said that, called it a money grab. She's more transactional now, talking about Meghan after this show. So yeah, it really, I mean, tanked whatever little bit of, I don't know if credibility is the right word, but I'm using it there. What little bit of whatever she had left, this show tanked it. And they were deemed to have, quote, failed in America. So then she goes on to do, which again, this is what I talked about in the last chapter, and I'm saying again, is anytime they get bad news, which is constantly, okay, so they do horrible things, it gets reported on, they get bad news. When that happens, and she scrambles to do something for attention to detract from the bad news, which creates more bad news. So it's a constant cycle. So in this case, bombarded with criticism, rightly so, from that god-awful show. So she has to do something. So she's trying to put out good press. The good press is getting people, maybe some people watched it and they're saying, no, this is horrible. People saying it's horrible made her do more things. So what did she do? She sold out in 45 minutes, you guys. No, you didn't. We don't believe you. That's when that happened. She said within the first 45 minutes, all products had sold out. I don't believe you. Or maybe they did and they just had like 12 products. I don't know. But Tom Bauer called it, quote, an extraordinary spectacle. And that she called it a big milestone, but he called it an extraordinary spectacle. It was being called an unprecedentedly botched launch. Agree completely with that. And that Meghan was completely out of her depth in this thing, that she didn't hire the right people or follow through with the products. So that's why we got the disaster that we got. That mains person, this is what I'm talking about. So because everything was failing, what did she do? Quote, Mains aired the familiar theory that Meghan was the victim of racism. Just pause and think about that. That's their go-to for everything. It's not that Meghan did a terrible job on this. Everything I've listed, from lack of defining what this show is going to be to lack of having any interesting ideas. It's nothing to do with that in her eyes. It's all the Istwards. If that's the case, then how come Emma, I never say it right, Marchioness of Bath, that beautiful lady who's I love her. She's on Ladies of London as well. She has her own cooking show and she's pretty well liked, very likable on the show. And people, again, they very much like her. How come she wouldn't have the same fate if it's all about the Istwards? Huh? Can't explain that. How come that Carla Hall that we were just talking about, how come she didn't suffer the same fate? Because she actually brought creativity and ideas to her cooking and seems to have a passion for it and an actual joy. So people like her stuff and they buy her things. It's not the Istwards, Meghan, it's you. I just find it disgusting that that's what she falls back onto. So then they brought in Doria. Remember that? Oh God, who could forget? I'm saying it like that because remember Doria was there and she's trying to get her mom to react to a dessert she made. And Doria, I'm not diagnosing, but I've heard the narcissist word thrown around to describe her as well. And I can't say I disagree in my opinion, but she's eating the dessert and she will not give the reaction. And Meghan's like, come on, mom. And she's like, give me a minute. And it's just like, oh my God. Because if it's any one of us, if your daughter, sister, friend, whomever is making this dessert, even if you don't love it, you're like, this is the best dessert I've ever had. She's so talented. Everybody check this out. But her mom could not do that for her. And I think that's really funny. But so she brought out Doria and Meghan's narrative to the New York Times promoted several inaccuracies, including that, quote, her mother was the sole responsible parent during her childhood. Also omitted was how Meghan, quote, had been plagued by doubts and fears, suffering sleepless nights before the launch of the series. Oh, and then he goes into the jams. Sorry, what am I saying? The spreads, what was it? It was the raspberry spread and how unforgiving the reviews were on that. And Meghan actually decided to, quote, pause production. And then he explained that in truth, she actually considered abandoning it altogether, but then changed her mind. So that's interesting. Yeah, it was only in Britain and Hungary that With Love Meghan stayed in the top 10 for one day before disappearing from the list. So there's that. All right, so pushing on, that Maine's person ended up arranging another interview, this time with Fortune magazine, another one that in theory should have probably looked at her business practice, business model, whatever. Didn't, just kind of did a puff piece. What's going on there? Okay. But I think the overall point is she will never do an interview that's not controlled. We saw in the last chapter or previous chapter where she straight up told, I forget who it was now, somebody that was doing a piece on her, maybe Vanity Fair, that if she didn't have control, she wasn't going to cooperate. So that sounds right. No one had been identified as employed by Meghan to find a bank or any kind of venture capitalist to mastermind the launch. And so things were just a mess behind the scenes. But Tom Bauer points out, remember around this time, she was putting out the rumors that As Ever would do hotels and restaurants. Can you imagine? Again, this is failing so hard behind the scenes, but she's saying they're going to do hotels and restaurants. That's like making all bad grades at school, but going home telling your parents, hey, I have AB honor roll. You know, it's like, okay, it might work for a day when your parents say good job, but what happens when people start to see this? It doesn't make any sense. What you're saying doesn't make any sense at all. Remember that story she told as well about being industrious and making scrunchies at a young age? If you didn't know, that was some BS she peddled. Yeah, it turns out that was some BS she peddled. Tom Bauer says, interestingly, Thomas Markle, her father, with whom, quote, she was living at the time, denied that happened. Shocker to no one. Meghan had paid to have As Ever labels stuck on products made by the Republic of Tea, who are also manufacturers of Netflix's Bridgerton merchandise associated with the streamer's hit show. You ready for this? Again, another great quote from this chapter. As the chapter wraps up, it says, quote, repackaging pretzels on screen during her series was the model for her business. Boom, mic drop. She never denied that all of her products were merely relabels of other corporations' products. Ooh, burn. I thought that was so good. And that's how the chapter ends. See why it was so good? So good. I love this chapter. You have to let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. Let me know what you think of all this. I'm going to read it one more time because I'm going to read two things. First of all, the review. So boring, I wanted to go into a coma. Hopefully you don't think of that of my show. And second of all, I want to remind you, wait for it. Here we go. Her super controlled narrative crushed any natural warmth. There you go. Mic drop. All right. That's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm dying to read your comments on this one. Ooh, that was very dramatic. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on this. And if you read the book, did you think this chapter was as juicy as I did? I love this chapter. I wish you had I'm not ready to be done with this book. There's only a couple chapters left, but I wish this chapter was longer. I could have read about this. This is all the things we suspected, but to see it in print like this, it's everything we knew. It's everything we've been calling. We were right all along. While she's screaming the ist words, we're right all along about all of it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Cantankerous, as always. You're welcome. Oh, what's that, Cantankerous? You have something else to say? All right, fine. Oh gosh, Cantankerous, hold on. I just can't take you anywhere, Cantankerous. All right. That says flock. All right. Guys, I hope you had the best day. Thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to read your comments on this, and keep checking back, and I'll have more new episodes up very soon. We only have, 3 chapters left. I can't believe it. It's been so good. All right. Take care. Stay healthy. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye. Hi. How are you? Oh, it's so good. This is so good. I'm so into this chapter. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Brilliant. This was, again, one of the best chapters, I think, because I don't know, I felt vindicated about a lot of stuff. Like, just seeing that, yeah, they do that. They do spam to say, oh no, everything's great. Oh no, it's just haters being haters. Oh, you're the Eastwards, and oh, her show's great. If you don't like it, you have a problem. It's like, no, she just sucks, and her show sucks too. So it just was kind of like, okay, there you go. There it is in print. That's exactly what we all knew all along. So let me know your thoughts. If you stayed tuned this long, I don't know, tell me something. What do you think? What's been your favorite chapter so far? Even if you haven't read, if there's something that I've covered, even if you don't remember the chapter number, what subject has been your favorite from the book so far? I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed the one about how horrible they were around the passing of Her Majesty the late Queen, and talking about the bull stuff behind the scenes, how horrible they are to work for. I think that's interesting stuff. So that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys had the best day. Thank you for all your lovely comments. You're so wonderful, and I appreciate you all so much. I really do. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the thumbs up, all the things, and I'll be back soon with another episode. Take care. Bye-bye.